Hi, today we start with Unit 4 and that is communication across functional areas. We are all aware that a business house has various departments and an interrelation of departments and them working together harmoniously is what ultimately results in business success. Therefore, today we will be discussing communication in the following areas of marketing, project management, human resource, finance, MIS and cross-functional. Now, what is marketing? The first mantra of marketing is customer relationship, which means to make a customer and to keep a customer. Both in order to make a customer and in order to keep him continuously as your customer, one would require excellent communication skills with the customer. Now, how does a customer come in first? First, he comes in because you have made a promotion of your wares. It could be product, it could be services, it could be anything that your company is dealing with and you require customers for. So, promotion is a marketing activity that requires abundant amount of communication. The next is propagating about the organization. Any organization requires a lot of branding. The branding happens through, of course, the result of the marketing, because what happens during marketing is propagation. You are able to build your name, and based on that building of the name, if the company is able to show credibility of that name, that's when the brand name is created. So therefore, in order to create a brand, you have to do advertising. Advertising is the first form of brand building. You create your name, and it could be also direct or database marketing. Whichever form of marketing, it requires communication. What are the strategies usually used in marketing communication? Sales calls. It could be cold calls where you are calling up unknown numbers, or it could be where you have met people and you have managed to get their numbers. You have a database from which you are calling. But these calls have to be extremely planned out, because your ultimate result is to see that this cold call or this sales call ultimately results in the customer at your doorstep. Okay? So then it also could mean we are all aware that there are marketing sales representatives, but calls can substitute these sales representatives from visiting the various organizations and clients. It could mean that a call can result, if well done, in the customer landing at the doorstep. One has to also be aware that there are a lot of competitors in this field. And how do you deal with your competitors? You obviously cannot show enmity. So what do? How do you deal with what they have? How do you better your equipment? How do you show it in such a manner that your product gets an edge over your competitor? All these require strategies of marketing. One of them is persuasion. You have to be very persuasive in order to market your product very well. The persuasion must be to the extent that the person completely believes in what you say. As I mentioned before, the retaining of the customer is one of the most important functions, and therefore strategies have to be evolved to see to it that a customer is a constant and permanent customer with the organization, and this naturally requires very good communication skills. Communication skills is also used in creating all kinds of collaterals which a sales rep may carry with him. Like take for example pamphlets, leaflets, brochures. All these things are marketing products which a salesman carries with him in order to convince his customer. In marketing, we have both direct selling and indirect selling. Now in direct selling, it is live demo, which means the personality of the person, his convincing powers, his communication skills, which are all part of communication, has to be very strong. He has to be more powerful and persuasive because the customer is right there in front of him. He has to persuade him. Obviously, you don't expect the customer to push the man out of the door. So therefore, he has to use all his powers in order to convince the person. The third would be leads to more sales calls. How can you run from one sales call to another sales call? How do you manage it? How do you build customer relationship in such a way that from one customer you are able to get numbers of other customers? Very clear examples of these could be products like Amway, which don't have any retailer outlets, but they are able to sell because their word of mouth is amazing and they are able to convince people to bring in more customers. However, this direct form of selling could be expensive as well. In indirect selling, you are more dependent upon an outsourced person. The outsourced person does the work for you, which means you have to build up trust in your person who is outsourced in order to represent your organization. This more or less is uniform because they have some standardized procedures by which they go about doing it. They do door-to-door sales, which sometimes is much more than what your own boy can do, because they have taken up an assignment with you and they have to fulfill that assignment. And one thing that is disadvantageous to this indirect selling is that many times it cannot be documented, because many of the documents that you get may also be wrong. However, it costs much less than direct marketing. From marketing communication, we move on to project management. Now, project is some kind of project that is underway in an organization, and what kind of communication happens in order to see that the project happens to the best of its ability. Now, obviously, any kind of communication will monitor the project first of all, because the project may be in phases in a certain time period and they may be having slabs of work. So how is it happening, whether the work is getting completed according to the particular slab? All this is taken into consideration only with very good communication skills. There could be teams of people working in projects, and the management of communication between these teams will end in resulting and the end result will be excellent productivity. Then, obviously, the communication will happen between projects, managers, teams, and sponsors also. Plus, the stakeholders of the company who have their interests vested in the company, they will also be a part of the communication. So therefore, it is not only internal team communication, there is a lot of external communication that happens during projects. Okay? Now, some of them are mandatory some activities are very mandatory in the sense that, take for example, a status meeting to decide how far the project has reached. What should have been the level at this present day? Should it be made better, or are they very happy with what is happening? A meeting, maybe of the stakeholders, sponsors, team members and manager, can happen at regular intervals. Then all kinds of marketing activities are also included into project management. Like take for example, motivation and enthusiasm building. It can be done by a kind of a marketing activity where everyone is made to feel as if they are part of it, and their success is what will ultimately be the organization's success. There could be many slogans, newsletters, brochures and all other forms of sophisticated marketing tools that can be used in order to help a project to go forward with success. It has to establish a very positive name, because the project, the successful completion of the project and its incorporation into the company's name will all depend upon how well it has been marketed. So it may have to, people may have to decide on a logo or an image, which will all be a part of marketing communication within project management. They may also buy little souvenirs and trinkets as gifts for people. Now that will be again decided maybe by the HR people, but marketing plays a big role in this communication with the public. And meetings of all types which happen during the project require communication skills. The next department that we will take up is human resource. Now, human resource is one of those which has continuous communication with all the departments of the organization. As the name itself suggests, it is human resource, which means they are dealing with human beings with feelings, emotions, and the capacity to communicate. So therefore, as a department, they are very conscious of the fact that they will be meeting people in order to motivate them to be most productive for the organization. So they will be dealing with all kinds of activities like meetings, talking about promotions to the people, talking about the compensatory packages that are available, the training that is given in-house, the counseling in case it is necessary, all kinds of retirement benefits, making employees very aware of what is the other benefits they can draw from being a part of this organization, and also preparing salary sheets. So therefore, in all, it's the biggest possible communication cycle that the HR department maintains with the rest of the departments of any business organization. The next we move on to finance. Now in financial communication, it is very sensitive information you can make out because it deals with money. So therefore, this sensitive issue has to be communicated very sensitively to people within the organization and to the world outside. Obviously, it deals with a lot of data, and whom do you contact? You contact the stakeholders or other institutions, analysts, and it also forms a part of the governance structure. So therefore, communication has to be very, very strong. It protects and enhances the shareholders' value. How well we communicate the finances of this particular project will actually help in enhancing the shareholders' value, and for this you need very sharp communication skills. The constituents of any financial document which goes outside would have, first of all, company at a glance, which means the best part of the company will be highlighted through this particular part of the paper at hand or the book at hand. Then there will be a chairman's message which is very motivating, and it will give a sense of belonging to the people reading. Then there will be an outlook about what they expect in future, like a vision for the future. Then there would be share price information, balance sheet, income statement, investor relation releases, financial calendar for the whole year, worldwide trading, stockholder structure, mergers, and initial public offerings. So all these things have to be documented with utter perfection in order for the finance department to be able to communicate it with the people within the organization and the rest of the world, so that they are able to build up their shares and build up the market value of this particular organization. Next is MIS, that is information systems. Naturally, it deals with a lot of networking. All the networking that happens through internet is managed by management of information systems. It records the purchases, inventories, payrolls of people, new merchandise which is bought. It evaluates all the possible statements through the different tools that are available on the computer, like MS Office. It is used in marketing, in finance, and in human resource operations. So everywhere you require the presence of MIS. The next one that we have, the last one in this list, is cross-functional. As I mentioned to you earlier also, like human resource department, it has a cross-communication with all the departments. Now, what are the ones which are very, very crucial for the success of an organization? The first one we will talk about is production department, marketing department, and finance department. They are very interlinked with one another, because marketing and production together is what builds trust for the organization. They are able to share facts which will be of importance to people concerned. They respect each other's constraints and move ahead together. And both these departments together think strategically in order to enhance business. For product development, you need communication, which is very smooth and very, very easy to understand. That is what will help the product to be saleable in the market. You have to understand the customer's likes and dislikes. If you do not understand it, you may not be able to bring about a product which will be very saleable. It is necessary for production, marketing, finance, all the departments to meet at regular intervals so that they can ensure success of their projects and all their other activities, which builds up the name of the organization and the success of the organization. The next group of cross-functional departments would be human resource with all the other areas. All departments have to and need to communicate with the HR department. Human resource department, it matches the skills of the people according to the need of the organization. So supposing one particular department, say finance people need accountants, they will approach the HR department. HR department will look out for such people. When such good people have come into their kitty through their biodatas, they will take it to the finance department and thereby organize a recruitment process so that the best in the market will be available for them to work for them. HR also communicates exact profiles of suitable people. Communication has to be as specific as possible, and therefore HR department takes this fine-tuning very seriously to deal with every department. It helps with recruitments, creating job advertisements. In consultation with all departments, they do this so that they are able to bring about the best human resource within the organization.